It's hard to follow his footsteps, by the way. I'm nowhere near as tall as he was. And I wish I had the same security guard. I'm glad you're sitting there protecting my wife so y'all, stay with me. And then, and finally, in closing, this outright attack against our Second Amendment rights in our Constitution. Some people have thrown this out there and said, you know what, it's just assault weapons, Charles. That's what they say to me. It's no big deal. And I look at him in the face, it's just as big of a deal as property, as your right to speech. It is the foundation of what we consider to be the United States of America, our Declaration of Independence, and our Constitution. When the Founding Fathers initially established the Second Amendment, it wasn't for hunting. We could hunt with bows and arrows, that wasn't the issue. And I had a civilian ask me at the Pentagon who works for me in the Marine Corps Operations Center. You can't make this up, he said, Charles, I just don't understand. If you're so concerned about hunting, an assault weapon, it just deteriorizes the deer. And I looked at the gentleman and I said, listen, I don't worry about hunting when it comes to assault weapons. All I got to do is take a good bow and arrow and put two flashlights, two beam lights in the front of it, and the deer will come right to me. The issue is not about assault weapons. And make sure you tell your friends this, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. It's about the fundamentals of our freedom. And I wish I had time to go through that, but I will leave this illustration with you. Imagine, if you would, the sound is going off and the British redcoats are on their way across the Atlantic, David Craig, on the way after us. They're coming after us. But there was a law just passed in the Continental Congress not even 2 weeks ago that said, listen, you can only have the equivalent of a bow and arrow. That's your Second Amendment rights. Put the muskets away and turn them in. After all, we all know criminals are going to be the first ones to turn their weapons in. Can you imagine what would have been the situation in our nation if every farmer couldn't grab their musket? If they could not be prepared for what was coming after them to ensure they had at least the equivalent in terms of their weaponry to what their enemies were bringing forward toward them. The Second Amendment was passed to ensure we protected ourselves from tyrannical governments and people that were out of control, and enemies and adversaries that were after our property, our freedom, our family. And can I also say this, if that bill had gone through and they decided to pass the bill, or we could keep as our bow and arrows, we would not be sitting in this room right now underneath the greatest country the world has ever seen. We have a right to bear arms. We have a right to bear arms. And my arms should at least be equivalent to any adversary that would attempt to make its way to my home. So the gentleman in the room I'm talking to, he looks at me and says, so Major Lollar, I guess you don't trust the government. I started to say, here's your sign, but he wouldn't got it. Instead, I just looked at him and said, it's not a matter of whether or not I trust my government. It's a matter of the famous words from a president you all might remember, trust but verify. Trust but verify. And I'm raising 4 daughters now. Let me get this out. The smart thing I did was I began to train my girls and my wife on how to handle a weapon. Because we have one that they consider now an assault weapon. We have one and I'm not turning mine in. That's it. And what my wife and I've done now, my wife has become so savvy with it, we started, we live way out in the country in Newburgh, Maryland, about 114 miles from here. And we got some acreage out there, and I have it that way purposely, because when you're raising daughters, you know every light that comes up the driveway.
That's right.
They're all teenagers too, 18, 17, 16, 18.
Bless you.
I know, that's why I'm here tonight. But seriously, my wife has gotten so savvy with that weapon now, we started looking forward to the opportunity of someone breaking in. We get excited, man. We hear something at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, could somebody be here? We've got to get action drills, lock the doors, don't let them out, because they're not leaving until we're done with them. Folks, I'm happy to be here with you. I'm excited about what 2014 means. Since 2010, for the first time in our state's history, we have more Republican local leaders than we do Democrats, and that includes the count in Prince George's, Montgomery County, and Baltimore City.
Hey.
So what is going going to take for us to turn some things around. We've got some fantastic folks running for office across this state and statewide. Men of